hosting these events. Um, it's great to see you engaging with the community. Personally, I've engaged with you, and you're always approachable. So hosting these are even more ways for all of our community to realize that you're there for us. Just a couple housekeeping items. We do have closed captioning available. Lupe will be here for translation, and I'll turn it over to her in just a second for information from her. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, you can type in questions on the live stream. If you're on our webinar, just type the questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get to all the questions, but if we don't, feel free to email the Chief's chat at rpcity.org, and he can address those questions after the chat. So Lupe, if you want to
go over your part. Hola, buenas tardes. Me llamo Lupe y voy a dar traducción en español esta noche. Si tienen alguna pregunta en español, por favor, usen la función de chat y con gusto le contestamos sus preguntas. Y ahora les queremos dar la bienvenida a nuestra anfitrión, April García. Ella es un miembro activo de la comunidad y es voluntario de muchas organizaciones de Rohnert Park. Hay que darle la bienvenida. And now I will turn it over to April.
Thank you, Lupe.
Of course.
Well, to jump off, we got a question here from Mark. Mark's looking to see how the multi-departmental meeting went.
Right off the bat there. Okay. So, one of the things before we get too far into that real quick, and I'm going to answer that question in just a second. I had several questions come in today through the Chief's chat email, which I appreciate. I love the fact that people are using that email. Jill and I have access, so we make sure that we're able to answer those questions. Some of the questions that come in, are they just want a personal answer, so I get right back to them, and some we bring on a chat. But so thank you for using that email. But some of the emails that came in today are they were about the fireworks, and we've discussed the fireworks in depth on this Chief's chat over the weeks, and so I just wanted to say, tonight we're not gonna discuss fireworks. That's not what this forum's about. We are actually going to take great questions from the community, just like this one we just had. So let me get right into that one. Yes, I actually just got a call from the Press Democrat about the meeting, the all hands meeting. And so it's interesting to me because for me, it was just like, hey, you know what? We haven't done this probably since about, I don't know, March or April of 2019, where we got the whole department together, right? And in a public safety agency, whether it's fire or police, it is almost impossible to get your whole crew together because you've got staff who are, they work graveyards, they work different shifts. You got people out on the street who are on days off. So we just don't get together as a unit that often because of the logistical nightmare of trying to do that. So, right now, I doubt Mark Essex is on the call, but I do want to thank him in public for helping out and for coming in and helping to cover the town while we had that meeting. But the all hands meeting I felt went very well. It's great when I can get everybody together and we can all hear the same thing all at the same time, right? Because I'm sure everybody knows if you do things in pieces, right? The trying to be consistent in the message, it just things change. So it was really important to get everybody together under one roof and literally just have a great discussion as a department. And the Press Democrat was really wanting to, well, what do you talk about? What do you talk about? And it's no secret. With everything going on in the nation today and in policing agencies and communities, the community is trying to figure out what they want from the police. The police are trying to figure out how do we best serve our community? How do we rebuild that trust, right? And so that meeting was simply about getting together and saying, as we move forward as the Rohnert Park Department of Public Safety, what can we do to improve on our policing services. And even a bigger question is, what do we want our policing service, what do we want to look like as we move forward, right? What do we want policing to look like in Rohnert Park as we move forward? And then on top of that was, let's figure that out, and then figure out how to really reconnect with our community, how to introduce the community to our personnel, right? The community is getting to know me, but the community, I really want them to get to know our personnel, the great people you have working for this department. So the long answer to your short question is the meeting went very well. We got a lot of stuff discussed. We're going to now have some working sessions that come out of that, and we're going to start answering those questions, right? And the other thing we really want to work on is, you don't really find them in policing really, or in public safety, or in a lot of, is our principles. What are our policing principles? Let's develop some principles that base what we do on all those principles. So I'm excited moving forward. I think we've got a lot of work to do, and but you know, there was a lot of discussion in that meeting, and I was really happy with that one.
Awesome, thank you for that. Ponying kind of off of the, you know, departmental aspect, how many members of the department live in Rohnert Park, and how do you think working in the community that they live in affects their job and how they police their own community?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, we actually have a pretty good number of individuals who live in our community, and the way I know that is because we actually have a program where if you live in Rohnert Park, we have a take-home car program, so you get to take your vehicle home. You know, and I know that we have several officers who take their vehicles home because they actually live in the community. We also have a number of that live outside the community, and that's for, you know, there's a lot of different reasons there, right? You could have a spouse that works, and you know, if you want to live more halfway between distances, so you're not creating a commute issue for one of the spouses. That's where you could, you know, got your first home. I mean, I don't know that I'd want to be looking for a home right now to move into. So there's a lot of issues on why officers live in and out of the community. I don't think you police your community any better, because, you know, you come here and you have a job to do, and officers do a great job, the ones that live in the community and out in the community. Where I think that we something might get less is where you have the involvement in the community, right? We talked about this a little bit the other day at the meeting about, you know, when I came into law enforcement, volunteerism was really high. You would see Officer, you know, Johnson on patrol during the day, and you see him umping or refereeing a basketball game or coaching a little league team or a softball team at night, right? So I think that when you live in the community, you get more engaged civically in the community, and the community also knows you as someone other than Officer so-and-so. They know you as, oh, that's, you know, Cindy's dad, or that's, you know, John's mom. So you're not just Officer Johnson, you're a mom to some, and so you people know you that way. So I think there's definitely differences, but then I also know that when you work in law enforcement, you put in a 12-hour day, you really kind of want to step away from that. Also, you need to recharge your batteries. You know, so I can understand why officers do live outside the community. They want to go home and be off, right? And sometimes when you live in the community, as I have in the past, and you're just never off, right? You're never off. You go home and you get the neighbor calling you because something's going on, and so. But I don't think it changes on how we police the community. I think you're getting great service, but I do believe it does address the civic, part of it.
Yeah, I
Good
can
question.
agree. I see a lot of the department doing a lot of volunteer work. I see them on the sidelines and as coaches and spectators and all of that. Shifting gears, we got a question from Facebook. I'm sure many of you guys have all heard down in Southern California. There was, a tragedy down there, and Facebook person is asking, is the department prepared for an active shooter situation?
The department, yes, we train, we actively train in active shooter deployment. We pray that it never happens here, anywhere actually, but I mean, it's devastating for we can see what it's doing to San Jose and the VTA, and our hearts go out to them. But yes, we train all the time. And in fact, just before COVID, we were actually starting to develop and put together a training course that we could take to our city employees, right? And prepare them, and even the next step would be, really preparing the community, because the interesting thing about that VTA shooting was they had received training not too long prior to that. And I want to say it was because either Santa Clara or San Jose PD or Santa Clara County used the building, and so they were able to train. And that's where a lot of people said during that training, they learned the philosophy of either run, hide, or basically attack, right? That you gotta do something, right? And so, that training was probably responsible for saving a lot more people in that. The tragedy of the 9 people lost their life, but probably more could have. So, yes, the department is definitely prepared, but I definitely think we could, once we come out of COVID and we can start getting back together and we get neighbor or groups together, really work on training our city and our staff. I think there have been 19 of these in the last couple of years. And, I think number 20 would have happened over the weekend had they not spoiled that plot in Texas for the Walmart, right? So, being mindful. But yes, to answer your question, we are prepared, and I would love to figure out a way to prepare our community and our businesses and our city.
Thank you. So today was the last day of school for all the kiddos. It was online, but it was the last day of school. So we're going to have a lot more kids out and about throughout the day, even more so than during the virtual school year we all experienced. This is kind of ponying off of something that was talked about on your last chat with the chief. There's a lot of teenagers that are out there riding their bikes, which is wonderful to see them out and about. The helmet law was discussed last time around. There is quite a few of those teenagers who they like to play chicken with pedestrians. They like to play chicken with cars. What can we do as a community? Obviously we can probably phone in, but oftentimes the bike riders are gone. What can we do as a community to try and curb that? Because it's dangerous for all parties involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is, if you've got kids out there playing chicken in the road with the cars, we do need a call. We need to respond, and we need to find out, because, I think last time what I said, was, it's difficult to, if we said we're going to enforce helmet laws, we would never enforce anything else, because it's a absolute full-time job. And, a lot of times we got a group of kids and you got one of them, the others scatter, right? And, so that's, I think last time I said something like, I really implore the parents, to, tell their children to wear their helmet, right? That's one of the places that's got to start. So, but there, in every community, there are groups of kids who are out there to play chicken with the cars and push their luck and stuff. And we need to know about them, and those, we'll address those. But and I know there was a group we had to address a while back. They were riding in the middle of the roads and really not caring, right? And that was, once we were able to identify them and, bring their parents in with them and have some discussions, about the dangers they were creating for not only themselves, but for the drivers. I mean, it's not, it's not fair. If you want to be reckless and dangerous, I can't really do anything to stop that, but you can't be reckless and dangerous and create an issue for someone else like that. So, but please call us. And, now that school's out, our staff has been getting together and doing some enforcement type teamwork. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a couple pedestrian enforcements are coming, or maybe some big bike helmet enforcement's coming. I'm just saying that to give people a heads up so we don't catch them by surprise. Sometimes I listen in on briefing and find out things that, might be coming up. So I'd advise people to wear their helmets and be mindful in crosswalks, both pedestrians and drivers.
Thank you, Chief. Going off of the kids being out and about, public parks and the safety, there's quite a few shady, I guess is the word to use, characters that tend to frequent B Park and A Park. They're not really over at S or G and whatnot. What is being done, and what can we do as a community to help you guys to try and curb that problem? I live right here in B section. I don't let my daughter go to that park. There's needles in the park. There's often people I wouldn't want her to be around. So what can we do to help you guys with that problem?
One thing, we're actually in those parks quite a bit. We're in all the parks quite a bit, but I actually drive right by A and B Park when I go home. And so I'm constantly turning in there and getting out and walking. Our officers are doing a lot more foot patrol and bike patrols back in those areas. And in fact, B Park, we were notified by back behind the baseball field there is a, I can't think of it. It's a little hut. It's, I don't know if it's a Girl Scout hut or it's one of the little huts, right? And, they'd let us know that there were some problems with the people going back there behind the shrubbery and all that tall growth. And they were, using drugs and stuff. And we let Public Works know. Public Works was amazing. They got out there, I think, within the next day and removed all that stuff. So, anything we can do to make it safer. I don't think the parks are unsafe. But I always tell people, depending on the age of the child, probably shouldn't be there by themselves anyway, right? But if you see somebody who is suspicious or something, you can call us. We'll go out, and a lot of times we just have a chat with them. We just talk to them, find out what they're doing there, and a lot of times it's nothing, right? But we would rather everybody feel comfortable, the person calling and the person we're contacting. But again, the constant message here is you can always call us. We will respond out and we'll check, because we want you to feel safe sending your daughter or your son to the park. You should be able to do that. And if we can give you that peace of mind, we will certainly do it.
Thanks. That's very appreciated. We got another question here from Facebook. What was your favorite and least favorite part of being the acting city manager?
My least favorite was the interview I got from the city manager today about my week. No, just kidding. I had the opportunity when I was in my other city to do an interim city manager time while they were going to hire a city manager. And when I went through this process, I was asked about that. And I said, one of the things it told me was, I don't want to be a city manager. I want to be a chief. I will say that the staff is great here. The department heads, they're so good at their job. They didn't need me, right? They just did their job. So they didn't need me. But I guess my favorite part is just, I get to talk to a lot more people. It opens up even more people that I need to communicate with during the week. And as you can probably tell, one of my favorite things is talking. So that's one of the things it got me over to City Hall. Every day I check in at City Hall every day to see if there was anything for me to do. So I think my favorite part was just that it opens up a whole new group of people who I get to communicate with every day. And hopefully, you know, some of the questions that came in, I was able to give a helpful answer. So I hope that helped. I think the least favorite part is you never know when a phone rings what the conversation is going to be, and when it's just me and the public safety, I kind of have an idea of the parameters that phone call is probably going to be. When you open it up to the city manager, it really opens up what those calls can be and what the questions can come. So I think that's probably one of the tougher parts. I will say, you know, Darren does a great job of keeping the city moving. And so there wasn't a lot of work for me to do. It was just mainly answering the phone and answering some questions. So I didn't even know anybody in the public knew I was the acting city manager last night.
It was noticed on some emails by a few people I know. So
okay.
or public announcements.
That's right.
So we know that catalytic converter theft has been an issue. What are some tips and things that you can suggest to the public to kind of curb it? It seems like it's, you know, ramping up here again locally. And then to pony off of that, there's oftentimes people who are caught are being cited and released. So leaving them to come back and do it again. What do we do as a community to try and fight that battle? It's kind of a twofer question.
Yeah, that's so it's interesting. When we first started the chats, the catalytic converter thefts were just out of control, and it was a constant conversation. And then, you know, I don't know if just we or someone arrested, you know, made some arrests of the right people, and it really calmed down. But I have been seeing the alerts lately; they're starting to go back up. So you're correct. So I mean, we'll go back and we'll kind of talk about what we talked about then. You know, the best thing you could do is park your car in your garage at night. And I know some people can't do that. And then, you know, when out working on the garage, so if you're driving it. So the other thing to do would be to try to protect the catalytic converter. And I know we've talked about the you know, going to like a welding shop or a automotive shop and having them. There's some cages they can put around it. There's some other stuff they can do that it doesn't eliminate it, but it certainly makes it more difficult and more time consuming to get the catalytic converter off. You know, cameras around the house, good lighting around the house. So that at night, you know, your spotlights come on or your floodlights come on if someone comes up, because we know that they don't want light. We've had a few people who called and said, yeah, you know, I thought I heard something, or my lights came on, but I checked it in the morning. So if you're going to put the lights out there to alert you, if something alerts you, you know, just get up and go check on it, you know, and a lot of times you'll get them off. But, you know, it's just really awareness and trying to protect that. These guys can get in there and they can get these things off in like 2 minutes, I think, right? As far as the penalties, you know, I'm real curious to see what happens after COVID, because I think COVID has been used as a reason not to keep people in custody, or you know, the courts are backed up because of COVID. We can't get people in the courts. I'm real curious to see where that happens after COVID. You know, after we're moving, I hope we start seeing some increased booking times and stuff. But you're right. We book them in the front door, and they walk out the back door because of overcrowding and COVID restrictions. But you know, back a few years ago, the Californians had a question on the ballot about Prop 47 and then Prop 57, you know, and unfortunately the propositions, they came out as these enhanced school bills, right? If you vote yes on Prop 47, it's going to send all this money to the schools. That's how they sold it. No one really listened or understood that the reason they were going to send money to the schools was because they were going to basically strip the state prisons, right, which would save billions of dollars that then they could send to the schools. So it was a vote yes on this and the schools get money. But what it was it was a decriminalization of a lot of things, you know, and so crime started getting lower, sentence started getting lower. Instead of going to state prison, you did a lot of county time. So there was a whole big mix up at that time. And then on the heels of that, Prop 57 came out. And Prop 57 started taking all these crimes that used to be felonies and dropping them all down to misdemeanors, right? When I was coming up through this through this career, a baggie of methamphetamine was a felony. Now it's a misdemeanor. You get a ticket, right? You know, marijuana was illegal. Now it's legal. There's a lot of things that have like decriminalized things. And so you're right. When someone goes and they cut your catalytic converter off, I mean, I would be so frustrated too if I knew that the person who got caught cutting what's going to cost me $1,000 to replace is walking away with a ticket or got booked in jail and now is walking, you know, and is out 3 hours later. It's frustrating. But I will tell you that we do what we can to the extent of the law. But when these bills start coming out, they're trying to do some cleanup bills to bring back some criminality to stuff, right? We just have to be more aware of it and read and review and know what we're voting on so that we can make good choices and we can put a little bit more penalty in some of these things, because there's a lack of penalty in some things.
I agree, and I can only imagine the level of frustration for you guys where you're out there contacting the repeat offenders on something that in the past would have been handled by the courts. So talking about voting. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, just, you know, when you like the officers, you know, they're busy during the day, you know, responding to calls, taking reports, and, you know, they go and they take a catalytic converter report. That's property that they've, you know, stolen or misplaced. There's that interview with the individual, right? And then at some point they have to write that report, right? So you can imagine, or they arrest the person. Now, you know, that's all that with the forms, that could be a 10, 12, 15 page report that they write. And, you know, and it's true. A lot of times before they get that report written and approved, the person's already out. And so it does build frustration in them because they're working hard to get the person off the street and they just watch them right back out while they're doing it. And so, but we keep them motivated by telling them that, you know what, you do your job. You do your job. You don't worry about the courts. You got to do your job.
Yeah. And from Facebook, somebody followed up on the catalytic converter question, asking if there's certain type of cars that are being targeted more than others.
Yeah, I want to say, and a lot of times I ask my resident expert, Jill, but I think it's the Prius. But Jill, I'm gonna let you take the starring role here for a second, if you want.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is the Prius, and so that has been the targeted car largely because the materials used in the Prius catalytic converter are more precious, and so there's more of them, so it's a higher value. In the past, it was high profile vehicles, a little bit easier to access. And so if you had, you know, Forerunners and things that were a little bit higher off the ground, but now they've kind of perfected getting a car lifted and under and out pretty quick. But the Prius is right now based on the value of the converter of that particular car. And Facebook, and everyone's talking about your squeaky chair. So I'm going to take this time that it's coming.
Oh, my chair? Your
chair. So,
you know, I usually have my iPad, so I'm facing the other way. So so
you're going to have to.
I can fix that. I can fix that.
Right. Much better. Yeah, that was picking up. And so, yeah, I was on Facebook and some other folks are putting that in. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, wow. We don't want that to be the topic of the night.
No.
All right.
We got an email that came in at the chat, Chief's chat email, concerning concealed carry. Person says, are you a shall issue or might issue mindset? Basically wanting to know if you think the citizen should have to beg permission to exercise their constitutionally and protected civil rights.
Well, you know, when I was sworn in here, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and so I truly believe that every person should have the rights that they're afforded. the Solano County Law Enforcement Chiefs Association, Sonoma County, I'm sorry, SCLECA, the Sonoma County Chiefs Association decided a while back that because we all had different programs and concealed weapons permit is a, I mean, it is a process, and you have to have certain people in place. And so what we do is the sheriff actually issues permits for the communities within Sonoma County. And it's a great process they have. And if you qualify for it, I haven't heard of people who have been turned down by the sheriff if they meet the criteria that's required by law. So I believe that anybody who has the right to carry should be allowed to carry. So yeah.
Can you briefly, is it a brief sentence or statement of what those requirements are in Sonoma County?
You can't have, I mean, it's the same, it's by law, right? You can't be a felon. And I think you just have to submit a letter of good cause on why you want a concealed weapon. And there's a little background, and you have to do a qualified at a range. So there's some requirements to take it, but if you pass the background portion of it, which is what you meet the state requirements. I haven't heard of any, but no one's come to me and said, I met all the requirements and didn't get a concealed weapons permit. I have not had anybody come to me and tell me that.
Okay, thank you for going with that. Mark's got a comment or question in the chat here. Selma is getting going. He's asked them to post a 24/7/24 available phone. I was told after hours, call the police to report problems. Can you comment on that?
You broke just, are you talking about SOMO? The construction?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If I know that if it has to do with the construction site, there is a number that they can call with the city because we reach out to the construction manager. But if there's issues out there that people are out there, you're seeing trespassing, or they're anything else, you can always call us, and we can get the message to who it needs to go to later. So.
Thank you. I got a question that was sent to me directly. Somebody wanted to see if you could explain qualified immunity.
Yes, I'll do my best. I'm not an attorney, but I'll do my best. So qualified immunity is when you become a police officer, and I'm sure that's what they're talking about, is police officers have qualified immunity. It means if you're in the performance of your job and you are following state laws and department policy and something bad happens, you have qualified immunity, which means that you can't be held personally responsible for that action, right? I'm trying to think of an example. I go to a call. I'm called to a call, and it's a person who's out of control. They say they're drunk and disorderly, and I go to try to take them into custody for being drunk and disorderly. And I'm following policies. I'm telling them to turn around. I'm identifying myself as a police officer, and I go to put my hands on to cuff them, and we get in a fight. And during the fight, the subject's leg gets broken because it got tangled under us, right? That person can't come back and personally sue me. They can still come after the city, right? But they can't personally sue me if I was following the department rules and I didn't violate any laws and I was there lawfully and doing my job. So in the performance of your duty, following rules, following policies, you can't be personally liable. That's pretty much qualified immunity in a nutshell.
Thank you. That sounds like a a tough topic, a little, tricky. We had a Facebook person come through, coming back to the SOMO construction. What's the construction happening at SOMO? I know what's going on with the housing being built, but I echo this person's question with all the chain link and whatnot that's went up over on the Credo side of SOMO.
That is a great question, which I may have to reach out to our development services director and then post the answer maybe tomorrow. I know they're getting ready to do groundwork, and I know that they are trying to do a lot of the operation around Credo hours over there. I did see that come out. I know there was some tree removal that took place prior. And I think a lot of what they're doing is just the prep work, getting ready to get things in the ground. And so, but it is what my understanding is what's taking place over there is in prep for the homes that'll be going in over there. But I will make a note to reach out to Mary Grace tomorrow, and I will get an answer, and I will post it. We'll post it on the Chiefs Chat Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you. Then we had another one come in, the Chiefs Chat's email. One says, please utilize the motor officers to help control speed, yield stop sign violations. Visibility is the key for reducing criminal activity, as well as the motor's enforcement of potential gang activity. The OTS has to have money just ready to throw away. Besides that, East Cotati Ave is a cherry patch. Please sign those violators up for the team. Don't really see a question, but I don't know if you want to address that statement that came in.
Sure. Because traffic is a common theme on the chats with us, because unfortunately we have people out there who believe that they need to get where they're going quicker because they're just that important, right? And so they violate the law and speed laws. What I will say is, I absolutely know that these conversations about traffic are not falling on deaf ears, because I'm getting the complaints, right? They either come in here or through my email, and I forward them, and I get them to the patrol sergeants and to the traffic divisions, and they're going out there and they are doing a lot of work. And the reason I know that is because the last one of the ones I got recently on Southwest, people wanted people to slow down on Southwest in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and so our sergeant got his team to go out there and do targeted traffic control there to try to slow it down, and wrote several tickets, nothing less than 45 miles an hour. And I got people who were upset because we were doing traffic control on Southwest and they got a ticket, right? So I definitely can't make everybody happy, but I do know that when you let me know where there's a problem, and I get it to the patrol sergeants and the patrol officers and traffic, they are going out there. So one of the people I talked to about this, I said, listen, this has happened my entire career. A lot of times the person who calls us with the complaint sometimes is the first one to get the citation, because they don't know we're going out there, but yet they get a citation for running that stop sign that they were complaining about people running a stop sign. So just be careful, because if you call us, we will go out there and we will do some kind of enforcement, and I don't want you getting caught up in it, right? But it is working. When you let me know, I truly send those on to the people who do the work, right? Our patrol. They're gonna go take care of that. So we will get people out there. I promise.
All right, and staying on the topic of traffic, Sterling asked, over the last few months, the topic of speeding has been brought up many times, as we were just discussing. Has there been an increase in tickets?
There has. And, so one of the things I asked the officers to do about 2 months ago, maybe, is I said, one, we want to reconnect with our community. We really want the community to know who you are, right? And so when able, I want you to do 30 minutes of foot patrol. Just park your car in a shopping center, in a neighborhood, and get out and just walk and introduce yourself to people, right? For just 30 minutes a day, right? And if you guys are that busy and you can't do it, I understand. And then the other thing I want you to do is when you can, and it's not that call to call, is 30 minutes of directed traffic enforcement, right? You know the problems in your beat. I'm sending you information. So I really want you to really focus and help the traffic division out, because they can't do it all in the city by doing that. And so that increased not only education, because we don't write everybody a ticket, right? The officers have discretion, but it also increased enforcement. And so we have seen an increase in citations. And now the officers are starting to get together and work in teams, right? They'll go out and they'll post an officer, and they'll have other officers in the area. And when someone drives by on their cell phone, they say, you know, it's a red Ford. This is license number. I saw them on we're trying to get people to put their phones away. So we have seen an increase in tickets. You know, we're hoping that increase, you know, improves driving, which lowers collisions, which lowers injuries, which makes our community safer, right? That's the whole goal. So yes, numbers are going up. And you know, I always hear this, that, you know, well, you're only doing it for revenue, right? We write tickets to slow people down or to get them to, you know, better driving habits, as I said, to make the community safer. We don't get money from those tickets. That money goes to the state, and it's allocated other places. So, and it's for that reason, right? It's for that reason that when the legislature came out with traffic laws, they didn't want to create a revenue source for cities. So they basically said, we want you enforcing these laws to make the community safer, not to increase revenue. So we're not going to give you the revenue, right? So I want to address that myth right now, that we don't write revenues to increase, or we don't write citations to increase revenue.
That's good to know, because I do hear that one sometimes. And you're right. Once the tickets start getting issued, the word spreads, and I think the community as a whole tends to slow down. Sticking on traffic, we have a question from Facebook about having ongoing issues with burnouts and reckless driving over in G Park. Most evenings, it sounds like at dusk and later in the evening. Is there anything else they can do to help? It says normally by the time they go to call, they're racing out of the parking lot already.
Yeah, so I think, did you say around 6 o'clock?
Yeah, it sounds like dusk and later in the evening.
Yeah.
So probably.
So yeah, one of the things that really helps us, and you know, is getting information like that. You know, when we get the call of, hey, you know, there's cars that are doing Brody's over on, you know, an L section. Well, when? I don't know. It's, you know, just, it's really hard to know when to go to L section, right? But when someone can actually give us great information, it's at G Park. It's usually around 6 o'clock. It's usually on Friday night, right? Now you know, the sergeant knows when to pull an officer out and say, you know what, why don't you head over to G Park around 5:45 tonight and sit back and see what's going on around there. So yes, give us information, but the more specifics you can give us, it's not a hit and miss thing with this, right? We're not trying to catch the right time. So that is great information that person has supplied, and I actually wrote it down. So I'll pass that on. But you know, the other thing we talked about was, you know, these side shows that are going on in a lot of cities, and and they're here because I see the tread marks in the intersections, right? As we've talked about before, if someone has video of that and I can catch a license plate on it, it's not going to allow me to arrest the person, but it will allow me to arrest the car. And so taking someone's car, getting a warrant, taking their car out of their driveway and towing it and storing it for 30 days is a pretty good incentive to get that to stop. So yeah, if you see that happening and you happen to catch a video, or you've got a Ring camera that catches it, and I can ID the car, get it to me, and we have a process in place that we can take the next steps and at least take their car from them for 30 days.
Thank you. That's good information, because I think that's a problem in a couple spots in our city. Switching gears to some community engagement questions. Sterling is asking, if the state does indeed open soon, will there be coffee with the cops this summer?
Oh, we cannot wait to get back out and get the coffee with the cops going. Even the PSOs, the public safety officers, they're chomping at the bit to get out and reconnect with the community. And they always love the coffee with the cop because I buy the coffee, right? Yeah, we can't wait to do that. And we actually talked in our meeting the other day, in the all hands meeting, about different ways to enhance our community engagement. What else can we do? What other things can we do? And so we can't wait until this state opens up and we can get back to really seeing the community. We love the coffee with the cops, the Friday markets when we can go out and meet people, the community meetings. Community engagement is something we all enjoy doing, and we missed it, and we can't wait to get back out there with our community.
And with the schools going back in person in the fall, will that mean the SROs will be back on campus, or our SRO?
Yeah. So Gina she's still been really involved in the schools this year, even though they were off. Yeah, she'll be back in, and we only have one. We have one in Rohnert Park, and I if individuals going to schools outside Rohnert Park, they should probably check, because I know some have removed SROs from the school, at least temporarily. But at Rohnert Park, our SRO will absolutely be back. Looking forward to it. And Gina has actually been working on a couple programs to really try to get kids engaged with our agency. Some ride-along stuff. So we're excited about getting that going too.
And one last
that was Jill's idea, by the way. I gotta say, that was Jill. It wasn't my idea, it was Jill's idea.
That's a great idea. One more thing about community engagement. I'm sure you know that Rohnert Park used to have an officer-friendly program. Is there any thoughts or talk about bringing something like that back?
So one of the things I challenged the department to do the other day in the all hands meeting was we need to connect with the community, deepen our connection with the community as a department, as a whole, right? But I challenge everybody to find ways to communicate with the community individually, right? And we talked about exactly those ideas, and starting maybe school programs, mentorship programs, right? So I'm, I don't know if it'll look exactly like the program that you're talking about, but I've had officers come up to me today and say, "Hey, I've been thinking about this. What do you think about this idea?" I was thinking I'm probably not going to be good with this age group, but I think I'd really enjoy this age group. Can I start something there? So it's already gotten that conversation going. Truly, I want, we have, a little over 100 employees in our agency. So I want over 100 officer friendlies in our agency. We're all going to be officer friendlies out there and get to know our community. But there are programs coming forward, I can promise you, because the officers are starting to come up with them on their own.
I love that idea, to have them come up with things and bring it to you and then to the community. I think that's a great way to do.
They're all more intelligent than me, right? They got better ideas than me. So I'm like, why are you having me think of this stuff? You guys have the ideas. You guys think of it, right? I'll just approve it. You go and do it.
So we have another question from Facebook. This person has heard Marin County is going to stop new construction due to the water drought. They want to know if that information is right, and if so, do you think Sonoma County could follow suit?
So I don't know about the Marin County. I would be speaking out of turn if I said yes or no on that one. But I do know that, I know that our council passed a resolution to try to cut back, and they put some numbers out there. And, city manager is very aware of where we are water-wise in our community and what we need to do to make sure our community has the water that we need. So I know based on the information I received that way that Rohnert Park is in good hands as far as our water consumption and cutting back. I think where we run into a dilemma is we have a water shortage, right? We know that we have a drought, but we also have a housing shortage, right? We know that because we have people living on the street. We have people who can't find homes. And so you got these two competing interests coming against you, right? You build more houses, you use more water. But if you don't build more houses, then you increase this homeless issue and this housing shortage issue. So, I really believe that we're doing a good job of looking and trying to measure. I know that we have an amazing development services coordinator director, and we have an amazing city manager and a council who is really staying abreast. They are not going to outbuild our water supply. They're not going to. They understand. So they're watching both, right? So I don't know about Sonoma County whether they'll do anything, but I can tell you right now that our city is very aware of where we are in our home building and where we are in our water. So have faith that you've got really good people watching that.
In terms of the 20% reduction that city council is requesting, is that something that your department enforces, or does that fall on city staff, like the actual public works?
Right. That's not really. We don't. In fact, we had a call the other day. Someone called the lieutenant and said, "I need you to send an officer over to tell this person to turn their water off. They're watering their lawn." So, we explain, the process. But yeah, that the public safety is not going to at this point is not in charge of enforcing that water. We're cutting back, but there's really nothing that says you can't water your yard right now. So, right. But we're asking you to cut back and cut back about 20%. Where it will go with this drought, I don't know. And, there may be a time where there is enforcement, right, going to happen. And we'll see where that falls when it happens. But, code enforcement kind of looks over that right now and manages it. So I would say if there's complaints or concerns, you can always call us and we'll get the call to where it needs to go, but we're not going to be the responding agency right now.
Okay, so those calls should go to Public Works then for anybody who has any issues.
Or code enforcement.
Okay. Yes, yeah. And then we have another question from Facebook. It says, how about a self-defense boxing program? I don't know if that was a recommendation for one of the community engagement aspects, or if it's a question about whether you guys would host one. What do you think about that?
I absolutely would love to do that. So back in probably January, February of 20, we were actually starting to work with community services director or manager Cindy Bagley on trying to get some classes going that we could actually teach, more like self-defense type classes, right? And then as we were moving through, of course, this thing got shut down and we were just done, right? We couldn't get anybody together. So Cindy and I have kind of revisited that a little bit. We didn't put it in a summer guide because we just didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, but we are looking at, we want to do that. We want to do other classes too, but I would love to. I saw, because some of the issues in the Bay Area with, the violence against the Asian population. And you can see some of the classes that they're putting on. I think anything we can do to make people feel more confident, more comfortable out there would be great. So we have some amazing people in this agency. They have some a lot of talent in those areas. And so I would love to use our, some of our personnel to work with the community. And even if it's just a 1-day, 8-hour class once a month or once a quarter, and invite the community to a big building and do it. It'd be a great idea.
That sounds like fun and great for all of us. Touching on COVID a little bit, with the state saying that June 15th, it sounds like things are going to, return to fairly normal. Does the county, and I guess you can't speak for the county, but does the city of Rohnert Park have plans to follow state guidelines right off the bat, or is it going to have to wait for county guidance?
So we actually are, we have to follow county guidance, right? It's kind of almost a chain of command. And so, but I do remember early on, probably a couple months, 3 months in, the county had come out because they were putting out their orders, right? Their health orders. The state would come out with a health order and they'd come out with a health order. And they were usually more restrictive. And so I do remember when the county said, we are going to follow what the state does. So we're not going to be putting out separate health orders. So, when the state on June 15th, that magical day that everybody's waiting for, comes out, we'll have to wait and see, but we're hoping that the county just gives us the direction quickly, so there's not confusion. Because when you have people watching the 2 o'clock, the 6 o'clock news on channel 2 or 4, and it's saying, hey, you don't need to wear masks anymore, restaurants are open fully, but we're not there because we haven't got the order, it does confuse people. So we're really hoping that it all kind of comes out at the same time, everybody is on the same page, and the timing is the same. We want to do it safely, but we want people to have their freedoms back. We want them to shed the masks and take that deep. I think I saw a commercial like that. Take that deep breath I didn't know I was waiting for. I think something like that. I think we've become so used to the mask that we don't even know what it's like not to have it anymore. So,
well, thank you for that. I know I saw firsthand some of the confusion between, what we're hearing from the CDC and the state and then the county, often on the sidelines of sports. And, I kept deferring to, we follow whatever the stricter rule is. So
yep.
That's kind of what we went with. So I just wanted to remind.
As a business, you throw in OSHA, right?
Well, yeah. I just want to remind everybody, as we're coming close to 7 o'clock, if we did not get to your question or you have any other questions for the chief, you can email him at chiefschat@rpcity.org. That's CHIEFSCHAT@rpcity.org.
Well,
and I guess I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Nope.
I just wanted to ask, what's your favorite thing about Rohnert Park? That was my question to you.
I love the public safety model here, and I love the fact that Rohnert Park, they went against the norm and did that, right? They said, we know that 99.9% of law enforcement officers in the California are fire and police separate. But we're going to go against that, and we are going to have a public safety model because we believe it works here. And then that leads right into just the community. Because I live here I'm over on Lancaster Street, and I've seen it, and the fact that when this was kind of like a planned community, and the sections, and every section has a school, and every section has a park, and I love that. It is such a family-friendly community. It's not overrun by, the big tall buildings and all the the rows of fast food restaurants and that you see. It's got every little bit of everything you need. It's got a college that sits right in the middle of it. It's got access to anywhere you want to go, right? You can be the coast and like that. And as I've gotten to know the community, I really enjoy the people. Our community members are genuine, and they're just good, friendly people. And I used to pass a sign, the friendly city, and didn't know what it meant until I got in the seat here. And now I know what it means. People have been so kind to me and accepting of me, and I appreciate that. So, I mean, I guess what I love about Rohnert Park is it's just a great community full of great people.
Thank you. And I think you fit right in, sir. Well, thank you again for taking in time this evening. And I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope the community did as well.
I do too. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving up an hour of your time to come and ask the communities, or ask the questions that the community had. And Jill and Lupe, thank you for giving up your time. And community, for those of you who tuned in tonight, thank you for giving up an hour of your time to sit and listen to me talk. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.